What it do, cucks? It's your boy, the hater, and the hater is moving up. All right. After all of these sponsorship offers that I am still vetting, the hater is finally getting close to the next level. So if you haven't, subscribe to the hater, get me to 10,000 so I can get better and make more videos. And with that being said, it's time for hater two-a-days, motherfuckers. For the foreseeable future, the hater will try to do 2 videos a day because the hater has decided to focus on working and having fun. And if I work all day and I don't have fun, then I lose my mind. So I'm gonna have my fun by doing 2 videos a day. So here's today's first video, cuckolds. This video is entitled WWE Holds New Talent Back. You could probably say the same thing about AEW, but that company is 1 foot in the grave, so we don't really care about it. So let's talk about WWE. All right. WWE consistently hires very young people, right? Now it's gotten to the point where you got people like Javon Evans who are like 19, right? Now, that's a good thing overall, right? Overall, having young talent is good because number 1, you can pay them shit, right? And number 2, you can take them, and as you pay them shit, you can experiment with them. You can see what works and what doesn't, and worst case scenario, you release them, and they're young enough to now where they can go to AEW or other indie feds and basically kind of like, go from there and see where their talent takes them, But the problem is, a lot of this young talent is completely handicapped by bullshit. You know what I mean? Now, some young talent, of course, is never going to be ready to be main eventers, right? And of course, when you have people in their 30s and 40s who are still good, like, Orton and, to a lesser extent, obviously, Cucky, Roman Reigns was never there, CM Cuck, I don't like him, but he's over, you know what I mean? If you've got people like that, I get it. You're not going to just replace them when they're in their 30s or even 40s with someone that's young and sucks, right? I mean, eventually you'll have to when they're in their 50s, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, Jey Uso, becoming Jey Uso now is silly, right? He's in his 40s, or maybe late 30s. I don't know. I think he's in his 40s, right? So it's like, how long are you going to make this last? Now, one commonly heard thing that those dumb fucks keep telling us on the internet, that is that this person's not ready. Like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? This person's green. This is an easy, quote unquote, sport, right? Look at Javon Evans. This guy can do all the moves, right? Is he ready? He's only 19. If so, how did he get ready, right? How did Carmelo Hayes get ready many years ago? What is it about these guys that makes them good at wrestling, right? And why can't Carmen Petrovic from NXT or the other one with Otis, why can't she get good, right? Well, at a certain point, it's like, this is not the developmental league, right? If you cannot pick up the easy-ass competitive element of wrestling, the performance element of wrestling, then you should get released immediately, right? There's no room here for people that can't learn to do a scoop slam, which the hater could learn in literally 15 minutes. I could learn like the basics of wrestling, and anyone could. Anyone who's not retarded could, right? Now, with that being said, the argument of, oh, he's too green, he's not ready for a push. What the fuck does that mean? Like, there are exceptions, of course. Like, remember that Lars guy? Forget what his name was, like Lars Sullivan. What a dumbass name, by the way. Like, what kind of a man named Lars has a last name like Sullivan? But anyways, neither here nor there. Like, that guy, like, he would show up, beat a few people, then he'd have like an anxiety attack or whatever. That's what the story said. And he wasn't ready to be on TV. Well, that guy's never going to make it. That guy needs to be released. And then he had all those scandals and everything else, right? We're thinking here, right? We got to find people that have, at the very least, the potential to be stars. And then if they fail, then they fail, right? Not everyone's going to be a star, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, some of the most entertaining wrestlers of all time, haven't been WWE champions, right? Like, are we going to pretend that the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys were not entertaining as hell? Of course not. The APA, they were entertaining. Most of these people never became world champions, and even the ones that did were like irrelevant world champions. Like, the only one that actually made it out of those 6 people was JBL. He had like a real title run, and arguably Bully Ray in TNA, right? And of course Jeff Hardy in TNA, everything else, right? But none of these guys became like massive stars, but they were massively entertaining. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you hire like Hardcore Holly, Bradshaw, Kurt Angle, and Brock Lesnar, it's like only one of them is going to be the number one, and only one of them is going to be the number two. And then the number three, JBL, can be a world champion, and Hardcore Holly can be like, Hardcore Holly. He can have a respectable career, right? But at the very least, if you look at Hardcore Holly, right? If you look at Val Venus, it's like they have the potential. They may not make it. Like The Godfather may not make it, but he has the potential to be a star. He's massive, he's strong looking, and he's charismatic. So it's like, he's got the tools to be a star, but it doesn't mean he's gonna be a star. And that's another thing that a lot of wrestling fans don't get, right? They think just because someone should make it big, that if they don't make it big, some screw job has happened. But that's another video. That's today's second video, cucks. But anyways, the point is, you gotta hire people that are really, really good. And then you have to push them to the moon. This slow and steady pushes, right, are preposterous at this point. Like Brian Pillman Jr., this kid's ready. You know what I mean? If you have any plans on doing anything with him, now will be the time. There is no reason why Brian Pillman Jr. is out there fighting for like the NXT whatever trophy thing against Noam Dar, who's never going to make it, right? This kid can easily go and wrestle like Dominic Mysterio in a believable match for the Intercontinental title. And then he can go from there, I'm not saying push him directly to the main event. Like, he might never be a main eventer. Some people have to be tested with the mid-card. Like Randy Orton and John Cena. First, they have to win the mid-card title to see if fans react and to see if they're getting better, et cetera, right? And to see if they're kind of like developing a character and other elements, other intangibles that everyone should have. But you got people, I'm talking about people like Cucky Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, who, aside from having really stupid names, I guess Kevin Owens is like a regular name, but Sami Zayn and Finn Balor are just dumbass names, Like, it's so dumb that you have like Sami Zayn and you have Kairi Sane. It's like, what the fuck? Like, people don't have these kinds of last names. I get it. You want to go with they're insane. Oh, are they? You know what I'm saying? Because all I see is two fucking jobbers who never drew a dime. But the point is this. If you have someone like Braun Breaker, you have to push him to the moon. There's absolutely no reason why even 1 month of his career should be spent in the same role as Bronson Reed, who does not have the same ceiling as him. You see what I'm saying? That's the problem. The problem is they take these young guys and they're like, oh, okay, you're going to be a young guy, right? Like Trick Williams. How old is this motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? Trick Williams has to be in his 30s. I'm going to Google this bitch real fast. You know what I mean? Because that's how the hater makes his point, with actual facts and evidence. I don't just pull it out of my ass. Trick Williams, 31, almost 32 in a couple of, he just turned 31 actually because we're in June, cucks. He's 31. Not old at all, right? Not old for wrestling even. But how long has this motherfucker been in the WWE? Like 4 years? 4 years. He signed a contract in 2021. It's been 4 years. Now, okay, fine. You gotta make sure that he can operate in front of a live audience. You gotta test him out in NXT. But then after that, it's like, if you have any prospect of this guy being anything serious, you have to put him in the main roster. Right? He has the potential to be a star. I keep saying this. He's not gonna be a star, but that's not because he lacks the potential. He has the potential to be like, a solid, like, upper mid-card guy. Like, I don't think anybody who's reasonable would say that his potential is lower than like Samoa Joe's or Nakamura's, right? You would just be lying if you said that, right? But the reality is, if they keep him in NXT for like another year and he's 32, then like he's, Braun Breaker is 26 or whatever, and he's already on the main roster. You know what I mean? So clearly they're more bullish on Braun Breaker, or whatever he is. He might not be 26. I don't know. But the point is, I'm going to Google his ass too, motherfuckers. Braun Breaker is 27, it looks like. And let's see how old Obafemi is. Obafemi just like, he's like 24 or whatever. Let's see. But he looks like he's 27 as well. But he looks like he's 43. There goes that myth. You always hear that, you're like, black don't crack, which is kind of true. Like, after like their mid-40s, black people kind of like look like they're in their mid-40s, but when they're like 23, a lot of times they look like they're 45, you know what I mean? So it's just like a different time period, But anyways, that's neither here nor there. The reality is, cucks, that Obafemi and Trick Williams and Tony D'Angelo and everybody else that's like remotely young, and I'm dipping into the 30s here to talk about people that are young, Like, these guys are being held back. WWE refuses to push them. It is the strangest thing. Fine, with Obafemi, I get it. He's a little bit more new, right? He's like a year or two more new than Trick Williams. But what's the excuse for Trick Williams or Tony D'Angelo, who have been there for a fucking eternity? Like, what's the excuse for them, motherfucks? You know, do you want to sign them back when they're 38 and then push them then? Doesn't make any sense. You know, now, I understand. Sometimes you have other plans, right? But I refuse to believe that there is something to do for Kevin Owens and like Bronson Reed, and there's nothing to do for Obafemi or Trick Williams, right? Or even Tony D'Angelo. You know, I refuse to believe this. All of these guys in NXT may as well be fired now because it's clear that the WWE sees nothing in them. They're just there to hold up spots until they get a new crop of good signings, right? Like, there is nobody currently in NXT, right? And there hasn't been one in, like, the history of NXT, basically. There hasn't been one person. The closest was Bobby Roode, but he was, like, almost 40, right? There hasn't been one person in the history of NXT that has had, like, the Roman Reigns appeal, right? Where you look at him and you're like, this guy's going to be the next big thing, right? The closest thing is probably Bobby Roode or maybe Braun Breaker. But let's be real, with Braun Breaker, we're reaching too, motherfuckers. Like, he's good compared to what we have today, but like, is Braun Breaker like more entertaining than The Godfather? Absolutely not. Nobody would say that. You know what I mean? Now, with all that being said, we have to say it like it is. As usual, you know what I mean? We gotta say it like it is up in this bitch. The fact is that wrestling and WWE are not doing the right thing by the young guys, right? Some of it makes sense because now someone can be in their mid-40s. Like, let's see how old Finn Balor is. You know what I'm saying? Some of these things were like inconceivable back in the day. Finn Balor is 43. He's almost 44 next month, right? He's almost 44 and he looks great. You know what I mean? He doesn't look like he's 44. He's in incredibly good shape and he always has been. You know what I mean? So you can like present him as a viable threat, right? Like in any real sport, Finn Balor would be retired by now because he wouldn't have the cardio to do this. AJ Styles is another one, right? R-Truth was obviously another crazy exception, you know, to the rule, right? And he's also another guy that when he was like 22, I was like, what's this 45-year-old man doing here, you know? And people are like, oh, he's aged like fine wine. Yeah, I mean, like if you start counting from when he got old, you know what I mean? Same thing, like I don't know if anybody here likes Pretty Ricky. Pretty Ricky. I fucked that up big time. Let's try it again. Pretty Ricky. You know what I'm saying? Remember Pretty Ricky? There's like 5 dudes, it's like a boy band, and one of them, they're all like 19. One of them looks like he's 38. You know, I'm like, what the fuck's this guy doing here? Is he their chaperone? You know? So anyways, the point is, that looks matter. You have to also look young, right? You have to be believable. You know, that's why, like, if a wrestler starts, like, showing gray hair or balding, right, you got to get rid of all your hair so you can maintain a younger look. Now, everyone's thinking, what about Hulk Hogan? Hulk Hogan is obviously a different species. Hulk Hogan is a different element. Hulk Hogan can come in with a mohawk the next day, and it doesn't matter because he's Hulk Hogan, right? But I'm talking about most people, you got to let that shit go, right? Look at Mark Henry, right? Complete legend. He started balding, went bald. What is he going to do? Just keep at it? You know what I mean? So anyways, the point is, young talent doesn't have these problems, right? They're not going to bald that soon. Like Javon Evans has a lot of career left in him and hopefully a lot of hair left in him, right? But he needs to be pushed, you know? Now, he's very new, and for someone that's very new, he is being pushed, but I don't see it going much farther than Cedric Alexander. You know what I mean? I don't see it going much farther than Nathan Frazier will, you know, because there is no direction for any of these motherfucks, right? And that's because there's no gimmicks. But think about this, right? You know that somewhere down the line, motherfucks, at next WrestleMania, Finn Balor is going to be involved in some multi-man, either tag team or mid-card match, right? You just know this intuitively. And the probability of Trick Williams being involved in WrestleMania is far lower, right? Because he would have to debut and he'd have to get a push, etc., etc. Now, could it happen? Of course. It's possible that Trick Williams debuts at the Rumble and wins the Rumble. Anything's possible, right? But it doesn't seem likely. And even if he does, he's going to get like a Drew McIntyre type run. You know what I mean? Like a boring ass run. So the point is, we need younger guys. You know, because younger guys have a drive. Younger guys have the ability. They're not going to get injured as often. And more importantly, younger guys are a clean slate. Like, you know, they were successful with Drew McIntyre in rebranding him as like a tough guy. But the reality is, they shouldn't have been, right? Same thing with Cucky. You know what I mean? With Cucky, it's the same thing, right? It's like, he shouldn't be like this big of a star, right? Their career should have been kind of like Tensai's career, where Albert, who left as like, now he wasn't even a jobber. Albert was like, you know, like I would say an undercard guy, but like he was a serious undercard guy. He was like a mid-carder, Intercontinental Champion. He was believable, and he came back as Tensai. They tried to put him in the main event, and people started chanting, Albert, Albert, because it's like, you're not going to fucking fool me, man. This guy is still Albert. Now, to be fair, they didn't put Cody Rhodes in, like, I don't know, a luchador mask and say, this is El Grande Nightmare or something like that. They didn't put Drew McIntyre in a Bushido mask and call him El Pendejo Samurai. They didn't do these things. But nevertheless, these are just the realities, motherfuckers. The hater only speaks truths. And the fact is, if you decide to not push any of these dumb fucks, well, that's on you, right? You can't do anything about that. That's just how that is, and that's how it's going to be, If people don't get pushed, then eventually you're going to hit the ceiling, right? And the ceiling's going to come in the next few years. The next few years, man, WWE is going to get bad because they're going to have to rely on these motherfucks. They're going to have to start relying on Braun Breaker and Obafemi and Trick Williams, and nobody's going to fucking watch. The viewership is going to go down and down and down because these guys are not stars, right? And it's not that they don't have the capacity to be stars. It's just that nobody wants them to be stars, clearly, right? I don't understand how Braun Breaker was fumbled so bad. He should have, debuted, and he should have gone on to win the Rumble. That needs to happen once in a while, motherfuckers. Like Brock Lesnar. He came in, beat everybody, became WWE champion in a few months, then ultimately, the next year, wins the Rumble, solidifies himself as a main eventer. Immediately. And then you have a main eventer on your hands, right? They can do this. Trick Williams might be a good choice for that, I always hoped in the recesses of my heart that would be the plan for Velveteen Dream. Because that guy was far ahead of his time, right? You put that guy in the Royal Rumble, you even have him come out as number one, he wins the Rumble, challenges Cena for the title, because Cena would have to necessarily be champion in order to, make this push go well, and he beats Cena clean. And now you have a star on your hands, motherfuckers. You have a star in Velveteen Dream. But that was fucked up by a combination of Triple H and allegations that, as far as I understand, seem to have gone nowhere. You know what I mean? Just bullshit allegations ruined this guy's career for nothing, But it is what it is. Life happens sometimes. But WWE, from its position, they need to find the next Velveteen Dream. Who is the next guy, motherfuckers? Who in NXT, honestly, who in NXT do you see being a future WrestleMania main eventer? I see absolutely nobody. Now, logic would dictate that some of them have to be WrestleMania main eventers because, we have to have a main eventer for Mania in 10 years. And there's nobody here. Now, probably they'll find someone new. You know what I mean? Probably they'll just figure it out. Maybe they'll bring back a 55-year-old Cena. Orton will probably stick around. But at this point, they're wasting their time with people like Eric Rowan, Bo Dallas, Obafemi, Trick, all these other jobbers, right? These people that may have had the potential one day, but it's now it's almost too late, We're hoping, I don't really care, but we're presuming that any day now, Trick Williams is going to debut on the main roster. And then he goes and wins the TNA title. Are you fucking kidding me? Just have Mike Santana beat him clean, and then Trick Williams can move on to bigger and better things. Mike Santana is more of a star than everyone in NXT. You know what I mean? I'm really bullish on Mike Santana. I really like the kid, He's cool. He's got an edge. He's got an attitude. He's got a good story. He's got a good look. He has a pseudo gimmick, that of being a streetwise, Latino thug from New York, kinda, you know what I mean? Spin the block. His move is called Spin the Block, which is a great name for a wrestling move for someone like Mike Santana. But anyway, I think he also has one called Flip the Block, or he has another one with the block, because he's got two finishers. That's another thing we don't have anymore, is people with more than one finisher. The fuck's up with that, by the way? That's another video for another time. But anyways, Gugs, I had to say this. I'm glad I got off my chest, so go fuck your mothers.